Pro Tour, and ultimately the World Championship, which we're all going to be over in Osaka enjoying very soon. But look, in the modern iteration of our industry, Flesh and Blood leads the pack when it comes to a world tour. And I'm really proud of that, and just, very grateful for everyone who joins us as we travel around the world. As, we see many times, play the game, see the world, and seeing the world is a really important part of that. I've spoken to it many times in previous interviews that as a young fella growing up and playing the game and seeing the world, it was really critical to me, and I'm glad that we're able to offer that to the next generation as well.
Forget that, offering it to this generation. In 2 weeks from today, I will for the first time get on a plane and go to Japan.
The man himself.
It's incredible for me, and it's a place that really sparked my TCG journey. So for it to come full circle in this fashion, I'm living proof that we are letting people live these dreams. Fantastic. So congratulations, my friend. Many more years to come. Let's hear from the fans. Let's hear these questions that
was
folks
a
have been
fist bump, by the way.
Last few days. I know whenever they get a chance to speak to you directly, I've seen the lines at Worlds, man, wrapped around the building. They all want to know about their hero or their, pet thing that is going on in Flesh and Blood. They want that little nugget of information. And I saw some of these questions. Really great stuff from folks out there. We're going to start. This one's not so great. I've about had it with Min-Max Games, to be honest with you, but they want to know. They say they're legally required to ask if there are plans to unban Duskblade.
All right, so a little bit of a story time. Min-Max, I have tried so hard on your behalf.
He really does.
We designed Warmonger's Diplomacy. Honestly, that card, the origins of that was trying to get something into print that would allow us to bring back Duskblade. And I tried, and the devs said, no, even with Warmonger's Diplomacy, you still can't have Duskblade.
Oh man, throwing it on the employees.
No, and we
throwing it on the employees.
Just for you to have Duskblade back. So it's home as in living legend, and looking forward to seeing you showcase that event in Chicago later this year.
Yeah, no one will show that off better than Min-Max Games, as you mentioned, hosting that first LL calling. And I will tell you something, in the dev room, there is literally one of those countdown timers, and it says, days since Duskblade has been offered for unbanning. We literally count the days. It comes up that often that we discuss Duskblade. And
pretty sure last time you told me I wasn't allowed to ask again.
Welcome back, those of you who popped back in.
So I'm trying to get the point across, and I'm trying to keep these folks from Min-Max Games off my back. So no Duskblade for the time being. Go play.
Two of my favorite people on camera right now.
But again, shout out to Min-Max Games, one of our best partners. You mentioned the retailers making this happen. There's a really great example. Let's go to the next question. This one's coming from Kevin Briar. Kevin wants to know, have we seen the last of mentors? It's been a while since we've seen a mentor. If not, any chance we ever see CC legal mentors?
I think the mentor keyword says Blitz legal.
So the concept behind mentors is that they are providing mentorship to the young folk in the world of Rathe on their journey to...
so the answer is no.
Adulthood, I guess.
Great question, though.
So it is very much something that's pointed towards to the young heroes. So don't expect to see them as CC, but you can expect to see mentors again, and maybe sooner than you expect.
Oh.
Yep. That sounds about right to me.
Sounds like the next
Going
TCC
next
box.
to Marcy, who would like to know, what are your thoughts on the new judge certs, Learn to Play and Mentor? I know you care a lot about this. Whose idea was this? Because it's a really good one. I'm particularly excited to pursue the Learn to Play judge shirt. New players are super important, agree wholeheartedly, and I love helping new people learn the game.
So I'm a massive advocate for teaching the teachers. It's like the Learn to Plays that we run through the conventions, especially around the world. It's a very important part of welcoming.
It's really, it's a really great idea, right?
It's really important that the people who are actually
someone who's a judge isn't necessarily someone who's super good on all the competitive rules isn't necessarily a great teacher, and vice versa.
So teaching the teachers is something that I've been
makes a lot of sense
pushing for quite a while. I'm not actually sure what the judge program mentor part is, so I'm gonna give some kudos over to Josh Scott and the team for developing whatever that innovation is. I have so much gratitude for Josh, Klaus, Nicolo, and the judge community out there. They were working so hard to create the best judge program that we can, and a significant amount of time and effort and resources go into that, and none more so than from the top with Josh Scott. So thank you, Josh, for pushing these initiatives, and I got to go and find out what this mentor program is, but thank you very much, Josh, for getting the Learn to Play judge cert, and I appreciate that.
hard to imagine where we'd be without Josh. I know I would have broken this game 20 times over by now if he wasn't always yelling at me and keeping me in line. And in fact, I extend that to all of our judges. I can't imagine this game working. In fact, I know it doesn't work without them. So shout outs to all of you
just
folks.
maybe one last quick thing on that one. I think this is a good example of how Legend Story Studios has become a studio full of some tremendously talented people, and the fact that I don't know exactly what the mentorship program is actually speaks volumes to the amount of trust and excellence and capability that these folk have who are part of the studio. I think we're about 75 strong at LSS now and growing quickly.
Yep.
And that's just a demonstration of people are empowered to go and own their function. Josh Scott and his team
but James,
own
that's
that function.
James, that's
he has made a decision
what a leader's supposed to do, right? Leader
program.
and manager is supposed to do is trust their people. If you don't trust your people and micromanage them, you may as well not have them.
Like Josh,
so
really stepping up and
I think to your leadership
these functions that
as
they
well.
have within the studio and driving excellence.
Yep, he does
for
a
our fans.
heck of a job out there for sure. Next question coming from Filthy Penguin. How did the idea of pitch cards going to the bottom of deck come into being? It's a simple part of the rules that adds so much depth to the game.
Yeah, so this was in that journey, that 7-year journey from 2012 through to 2019 when we launched Welcome to Rathe, and Chris Gearing and myself, we were playing nearly every day, and putting the pitch zone onto the bottom of the deck probably happened about 3 years in, I would say.
Oh my goodness.
And it came from actually trying to solve an issue where being able to pitch cards directly to the graveyard, which is what it was originally, was closing off so much design space and leading to some really bad degeneracy where we had a lot of graveyard matters mechanics that we were interested in. Some of them exist in the world already, some of them are yet to be printed, and just being able to get cards into the bin that easy is actually problematic.
Yeah, well, if you don't do it, you're also consumable resources.
That, putting the cards onto the bottom of the deck created this this play pattern or this evolving game state where you were typically playing out your high impact red cards throughout the earliest phases of the game and pitching your blues to pay for your reds essentially, and then you get back to the second cycle when your deck's kind of full of your weaker cards, high resource, low impact cards, and it created this really interesting dynamic that simulated this concept of coming to the fight at peak strength and wearing down over the course of the game, which was always our goal. So we were as soon as we realized that, it's this is it. And I think that the pitch system is
Love it.
Perhaps the most unique thing about Flesh and Blood that sets it apart from other TCG systems that have existed out there. And the rest is history.
Yeah, I'm going to go a step further. I talk a lot about the tactile experience of Flesh and Blood, and I think it is the experience that is just the best in the history of TCGs. And I say that, as certainly a homer, but I've played all the TCGs. I really think the experience of picking up, handling your cards, the number of cards you play with, how clean the arena is often kept, it's all really, really top notch. And I think a huge portion of that is just this satisfaction of moving the pitch to the bottom of the deck and it coming back around. There's just this whole feel in a game of Flesh and Blood, and pitch is a huge part of it.
I think another key thing about it is in the early stages of our game system development, there was no arsenal and there was no bottoming your pitch zone. So you were completely
fascinating
at the mercy of the composition of the 4 random cards that you were drawing, right? We needed something to be able to set up pairings of cards, right? To be able to combo different cards together and create the synergies. And obviously the arsenal is a key one where you can set a card in your arsenal, wait to pair it up with other key cards that are coming in future turn cycles. But pitching is also a way to do that as well. Being able to preserve a card for the end of the game, especially with effects like Enlighten, Strike, and Sink Below, which I think was really critical in terms of being able to employ strategies of playing towards something in your game.
Yep. Great points all around. Let's go to our next question. We're going to hear from Cuzco. Wants to know from concept to final piece, what card that is currently released is your favorite in terms of flavor for card art and in-game mechanics?
Cuzco's been a friend of the channel in the past.
And I'm really proud of a lot of cards that we've made and a lot of mechanics. And probably for me, I look at themes and mechanics more broadly or holistically than individual cards. So as an example, a mechanic that I'm really proud of is Transcend. I've spoken to this before.
Yep.
I'm really happy with it from, again, that tactile experience of like the card transcends upwards from the playing field back into your hand. That's just something that it always evoked that feeling, like this concept of transcending is like moving upwards. So I really like that, and I really like the fact that you transcend into inner chi, and the inner chi gets back into your deck. It becomes part of you. It's like in your deck. So I was really pleased with transcendent inner chi in terms of mechanics. In terms of card art, I actually really proud of the invocations from Uprising, of transforming your ash into dragons, and likewise with the angels as well, of the figments transforming into your angels. And I absolutely love the art. If I have to call out one piece of art, probably Themis, Angel of Judgment is one of my all-time favorites outside of hero art. I absolutely love that piece of art by Asur. Yeah.
I think that's a great call out for sure. Next question here, coming from the Armpit.
Armpit.
How close is the current state of
Look who it
Fab
is.
to your initial vision of the game? I love this question, given the fact that TCGs are so unique, right? Because the vision is always evolving. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about them. And it's always funny to me, an argument that often comes up in moments where people have a gameplay experience or a hero that isn't really gelling with them. They often say, this isn't what Flesh and Blood is meant to be, or it's not, as Flesh and Blood was intended. And I always kind of laugh a little bit because I know you're still making the cards, and I feel like you kind of get to shape what Flesh and Blood is intended to be. So I guess I'm just going to turn this question a little bit and ask, do you think you're doing a good job of delivering the experience of Flesh and Blood as you intended to be?
Well, I gotta say, it's a lot closer to my initial vision of the game after we banned all the books.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
In terms of gameplay experience,
yep.
Like it really was supposed to be more about like the small incremental advantages, like the tug of war that happens across the course of a game, and with some outliers from time to time. Like I think it's important that we have a diverse spread of different archetypes, like your combo decks with the Kanos or whatever, or your more like control leaning decks, like the Oldhims of the past, or maybe even you could call some of the Enigma.
Oh man,
like
I've got some comments for you right now, but I want to listen.
The games that are looking to take the game long, like even control Florian type decks.
I don't feel it
spread of different archetypes
represented commoner.
I think that
truly to the competitive side, but I think
you
it did
talk
well
to,
from
like,
the fun side.
I mean, designing and creating Flesh and Blood is my life. It consumes me. I think about it non-stop, and I think that in many ways we're getting better at making it. We strive really, really hard to just infuse flavor and make things feel right, and that's really important. And
flavor's a huge one.
Some heroes achieve that better than others. But I think in general we're making heroes that are true to what the class or the class and talent is supposed to be, or true to what their character is supposed to be. I mean, you know how pedantic I am about trying to hit those flavor notes.
For sure. And I think it's critical. I think none of this matters without that. It's just numbers at that point, right?
Yeah.
It has to have that tie. Yeah. It has to have that, again, tactile experience. It has to be beautiful representation so you can buy into the
These
fantasy
two are
of the
so
game
brilliant. They play off each other so well.
So I think I'm pretty happy with it. I think that it is staying pretty true to the initial vision, and even more than that, I think it's like building on what the initial vision was. Like I know a hell of a lot more about what Flesh and Blood is and about just designing TCGs in general than when I started.
Yeah. I find it like the concept of being satisfied with the initial vision, like a little bit laughable. Like who wants to design something and be like, this is it. It should never evolve from this point. It should always be evolving.
If I went back and did Welcome to Rathe again, it would be very different than what it was, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
For sure. All right, let's head to our next question here. This one's coming from
huge
Philip
shout out.
Fabre. Shout outs to Fabre. Huge.
You deserve that.
Tool.
Incredible.
Absolutely. Would be lost without these folks. And Philip asks, what are you most
Also,
proud of
huge
with
shout out to
regards to
Fabre.
LSS Fab?
I think this is an easy one.
He's a manager. He's going to say his people.
Of how literally hundreds of thousands of people around the world have embraced this game and the characters and the community, and to be able to create something that has that much love and passion and buy-in from so many different people across the world is the thing that makes me the most proud. And that we've built a team of people at LSS who are all just so committed and invested into that. into that simple concept of bringing people together through the common language of playing great games.
Yeah, it's at the point where community feels like almost a cop-out because it is often the default answer, but like it's the correct answer for me. The community that has come up around this game, around LSS, both internally and externally, you know, the friendships I've made with people who live literally as far as possible from where I was from on the globe as you can. And now I have this deep web of friendships across New Zealand and across other parts of the globe. And I know so many folks out there experiencing the exact same thing on the player side of Flesh and Blood.
Yeah. Thank you, Philip. Really appreciate your work.
Agreed. Next question here, coming to us from Kale McCreed,
New Zealander, who's this guy?
An Aucklander, I believe, through and through. And Kale asks, your role in TCGs in the early 2000s in New Zealand had a big influence on the development and growth of local kids. Seeing them play Fab as adults, how does it make you feel seeing how those kids that play Fab have turned out because of your influence? And what does it mean to you that you and your game are having that same influence on a global scale?
It's a beautiful question. Thank you, Kale.
I really hope to meet Kale in person one day.
I
thought I might be able to do so in New Zealand.
Well, 25 years. Kale used to come along to the Duel Master events that we used to run at the local bridge club and down at the Parnell Library, just down the road from where we are now. And yeah, it's been part of that journey for a very long time. So thank you for your long-standing support and belief in my work, Kale. And I think that the point that you raised is really critical and forms a big part of what our mission is about. I grew up in a very small town in New Zealand and was surrounded by some influences that weren't so good. And it really was having a local game store and a local TCG community that showed me a different path in life, and particularly being able to travel around New Zealand initially. Got to travel to Wellington, our capital city, to play in regional qualifiers and PDQs, and then started traveling to Auckland and playing more events and just meeting smart people. It's one of the things I like about TCGs is they generally attract smart people.
Yep.
And it showed me some different options in life and allowed me to see that there were different choices I could make and different people that I could associate with and build friendships and networks with. And for me, that was a big part of why I became a TO in New Zealand, and used to run the events for Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh and Duel Masters and Versus System and World of Warcraft and Pokemon and all sorts, all of the TCGs that came through. And a big part of that was I think the importance of having things that exist in society for people to come together through a common interest outside of maybe your typical social circles that might be at school or at work. I often talk about the third place. People generally have home, they have work, and they have a third place. And for us gamers, that third place is often the local game store or your local tournament scene. So I think it's critical that we deliver on that mission, and particularly in our modern society where there's so much digital interfacing, and a lot of the other publishers have moved very digital as well. And back in the around the 2010s, I was concerned that there was this big push to migrate TCG players out of stores and onto digital platforms.
It would be interesting to see his
quite a big motivator
public
for me to
comments live
start Flesh and Blood and be like,
Talishar,
I want to try and preserve this culture of people,
which is a huge factor in this
Flesh
game.
And Blood, through
interesting to see his
language,
comments on that.
Which is whatever game system it is that you happen to orbit around, that is your common language, and for us, obviously, it's Flesh and Blood. So it is important to me that we make sure that culture and these opportunities are preserved for the next generation. And from time to time we receive some beautiful messages from folks around the world, from both young people and from parents, acknowledging the positive role that Flesh and Blood has had in their lives. And again, just thank you, Carol, for highlighting this. And I do thank all of our community leaders out there. Just like in New Zealand and the early 2000s,
I don't know how many parents are reaching out and saying,
community champion.
I don't know how many parents of like 15, 16-year-olds are huge fans of how much time their kids spend
to look after the
in the game, let alone the money, but mostly the time away from high school. I don't know about that.
Just like me back then, out in the world.
I don't know that it's healthy, honestly.
Using Flesh and Blood as a medium to support young folk out there to find a place where they can belong. A place
that I agree with. Belonging's fine, but
no matter
it can't
what
become your life
and
prevent you from succeeding in other things.
That commonality to form communities and friendships and belonging and purpose, and just whoever
there's a lot of folks
offering
who
that
are
to young
15,
people.
16,
Thank you
thinking
very
they're going to
much.
go be pro players.
May it long
and
continue.
Yeah, I think a lot about
That's not great.
our young goats.
That's not a good
you know,
thing.
The Brody Spurlocks, the Lucas Oswalds,
Yeah.
young kids who are getting involved in this community and making a name for themselves in this community. And
But to
I
what
really
end,
think
Brian?
TCGs have the potential to carry people to very great things, both within and without of the TCG space.
Absolutely.
And I really hope that Flesh and Blood is doing the exact same things. And knowing our community and the type of connections I see these young players making and the type of friendships I see them forming, I'm very sure it is going to have the same effect.
Absolutely.
Yep. Let's head on to our next question. Thank you, Kale. Great question.
Breezy.
From Breezy here. Breezy says, let's take a little break from the Fab questions. It's the 5th anniversary. What do you mean a break? We never take breaks around here. We'll let it slide one time. You've just been given a time machine, and you can take one person with you. Where do you go, and what do you do?
Look, I'm curious what happens in the future. I'm going some distance into the future to see what happens to the world. Hopefully it's not a ghastly picture that awaits me, but I don't know, some hundreds of years into the future and just see what happens to society, to be honest.
Okay. Always looking towards the future, wanting to know what's next. I get
Fair
it.
enough.
I understand where you're coming from.
Fair
I'm probably
enough.
going back and hanging out with dinosaurs. I just want to see
Yeah,
dinosaurs, man.
Yeah.
I'm a simple
I
guy.
could be convinced to go back to like, 1808 and see a Beethoven concert or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I just want
That
big,
would be
scary
pretty fun.
lizards. That's my priority. You're a more complex man than me. Let's go to our next question. We're going to hear from James here. James wants to know, what other hobbies do you have? James, do you have time for other hobbies?
I don't have time for other
Okay.
hobbies, but other loves that I do have in life is musicals, and a lot of that has to do with my daughter, who is very musical. She loves performing arts and
Incredibly
singing.
gifted, too.
So yeah, thank you. As a family, we do spend quite a bit of time enjoying music and stage production. So that's a big part of my enjoyment. I love reading.
Mm-hmm.
And
Anything good you've read lately that you want to share with us?
yeah, Ray Dalio Principles, great book. Yeah, Evolve or Die. Yeah, have just got to have brutal transparency, self-reflection. But yeah, very good book. But yeah, reading, music, culture, all good.
Yeah, good answers all around. All right, let's go to our next question here. This is coming from Will Bradshaw. Favorite toppings on a pizza?
These
I know
are
you're
all
a
sourced
vegetarian
from
like
Twitter.
myself, so let's
That's
get out
interesting.
there for these vegetarian toppings. Let's tell them.
I guess
let
that's
people
the
know you can have
fast
a great
turnaround.
vegetarian
But these
pizza.
are all Twitter
Absolutely.
questions
just
so
gotta
far.
Start with,
So I guess you got to be on Twitter to be
sauce,
cool
then
kid
you
in
get in
Fab.
with some diced onions, some capsicum, and then cheese.
Peppers for the folks in America.
Peppers,
I didn't know that either. Don't worry.
Okay. Bell peppers, right?
peppers, yeah.
Bell peppers, and then it's all about the cheese, the mozzarella, and then more mozzarella, and then maybe more mozzarella.
Yeah, you learned that from your daughter. We've done pizzas at your house before. I've seen how she makes her pies. They're piled high with cheese.
Yeah. But the music is what tops it off. When we're doing Pizza Station at our house, which is our all-time favorite, like family cooking thing, it's Pizza Station. It's all about the music which is playing in the background. Yeah.
Yeah, you need some traditional Italian music. Yeah, good pizza music. Yeah. Perfect. That is how the song goes. Exactly.
Just on loop. Yeah.
He's not lying. I've been over for pizza night. It really does play the entire time. Next question coming up here from David Spencer. When and where did your love of white pants begin?
Yeah.
Wearing them right now.
Well, if you knew me back in the 90s, back when I was trying to find my way, it was a very different attire that you would find me in. It was pretty much all black. I was like Florian.
Yeah.
Pretty much like Florian.
Emo goth vibes.
Yeah. Just mono black. But I don't know, the white pants, I've been rocking the white pants for a while now. Yeah. Okay. Early 2010s. So no, just found my groove. Yeah. It's also a little bit to do with just not wanting to think about what to wear.
Keep it simple.
Yeah.
Ruh-roh. Well, that's not good.
I have many
There we
pairs of
go.
white pants. I have many pairs of these same shoes, these brown leather loafers. I got many of the same cable knit.
Oh, I have
sweaters,
actually
and
wondered that
it's
about the
just-
cable knit sweater.
I don't really want to have to think about what to wear. It's a big part of it.
I have
Envious,
wondered that.
Honestly, I spend a lot of time worrying about what to wear, and then I realize I don't actually care that much.
It's
and
the
why am I
uniform.
spending so much time on this?
Yeah.
Just
It's his
one
uniform.
outfit.
I respect
For me,
that.
decision point.
I respect that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question here is coming to us from Lucas Oswald.
Oh, there you go.
I didn't even know he was on here.
Oh,
he wants to know who's the best player in the
coming
world
from Lucas Oswald.
who is the most underrated player in the world.
This is a slam dunk for me. The best player in the world is Pablo Pintor. I gotta say, Michael Hamilton, man, you gotta get focused back on Flesh and Blood. You gotta step up your game, man.
Called out, Michael Hamilton. Where are you at?
Yeah, you gotta get dedicated to Fab again. But Pablo Pintor, man, what a legacy this guy is crafting for himself, from champion of Pro Tour #1 through to multiple calling wins, including the most recent calling. Just super impressive. Yeah.
Also a very impressive actor as well. I don't know if you caught his appearance in Night at the Armory, but yeah, knocked it out of the park along with the rest of the Sunflower Samurai. How about underrated? Anyone come to mind as far as an underrated player?
Yeah, I might go with your pick to win Worlds, actually. Nick Butcher. Okay. Very underrated player, I think. Yeah. Lucas Oswald, though, he's claiming a case. To get his name up there.
He's got that monkey off his back. He's got that win.
Congratulations,
like I said,
Lucas.
young gun for sure. Yeah, I believe in Lucas for sure. Could absolutely put his name in that conversation.
Fun to watch.
Yep. All right, next question here. We will hear now from. Looks like it is going to be the Tall Timmy.
The tallest of the Timmys.
Welcome back, Tall Timmy.
Love seeing the Tall Timmy around.
Mate, it put a smile on my dial when I saw you come back, mate.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness.
Tall Timmy wants to know, which LSS employey would you bet on to win Worlds Osaka
things flesh and
if
blood.
the team was allowed to play?
If the team!
Yes, sorry, my fault.
Get it right, mate.
My fault.
All right. Well, this one, I'm going to go with Mr. TCG, the Chris Gearing.
Huh?
And I'm going to state some facts. The last 2 World Championships that this man played in, he made the top 8 of both of them. And yes, it was quite a long time ago, and it was a different game system, the Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championships, but the man is back-to-back World Championship top 8er.
Pretty damn good.
And I must say, the last time he played in Dev Internal Championship, he did win it.
That's
with
true.
a little bit of help.
He had an incredible teammate, like just an unbelievable teammate.
He did.
Can literally hear the dev room rioting and cheering right now.
Absolutely. But he's got it. When he puts his mind to it, he is the best there is.
I like that disclaimer there. When he puts his mind to it.
The best there ever will be.
Yeah, he's just got that TCG mind. There's a reason they call him Mr. TCG. Next question here coming to us from Max Ferocity. Another shout out to Max Ferocity. Of course, jaw-dropping cosplays around the world. Nobody embodies the Mechanologist class better than Max Ferocity. Wants to know, how significantly has the overall lore of Rathe changed from your original vision? Is there a character/hero you were really excited about since the beginning that we haven't met yet? And selfishly, will we get to learn more on the Monarch storyline soon?
Firstly, love your work, Max Ferocity. Rachel, you're such a talented cosplayer, and I can't wait to see what you're cooking up for Osaka.
Same.
This is a tough question because I can't speak too much to it because it'll spoil the surprise for everybody. But I gotta say that, like, the lore that I mapped out with Robbie during those formative years, we kind of agreed on what the macro story arc is with the War of the Monarch, and we're pacing our way through that. Some of the things that have spun off the side, some of these side plots, sort of things that we have maybe evolved as we have gone along, or a sort of new story threads that we hadn't locked in so firmly back in those like pre-launch development phases, things like the Uprising and so on. But that core War of the Monarch story arc is pretty true to form from where we envisioned it.
So
as far as
question for you all then watching,
yet to see,
do we think James is running out of story at this point? I mean, in terms of pre-story, not for the future, right? Obviously, he has a huge team, but we're buffering, at least on my side. But
so the dissipation of the flow and things like that.
So does the Monarch trilogy end the pre-plan? It sounds like it does. Interesting. What do you think? Let me know in comments.
Okay. Looking forward to that. Something came up when we were doing our questions before, and I said I would try and ask you when we came back. It's related to Monarch, which is why it springs to mind. There seems to be a widespread belief that Monarch was the first set ever designed for Flesh and Blood. Do you have a sense of where that belief came from? And we, I believe correctly, told folks that Welcome to Rathe was the first designed set. But for whatever reason, the community wholeheartedly believed that Monarch was the first designed set. Do you have any idea where that might have sprung up from?
I think in the past I've spoken to, like, the game was originally designed with talent, and then we stepped it down for Welcome to Rathe and Arcane Rising to slowly like step into the revealing of the talents. I mean, the truth is that we developed a cluster of heroes kind of collectively together, Chris and myself, which included what ended up being Katsu, Rhinar, Dorinthea, Kano, Dash, Oldhim, an iteration of Oldhim was part of that initial batch, Chane, Phi. These were all part of like the formative batch of heroes. So obviously there's a mix of talented heroes and non-talented heroes in that, and then we made the conscious decision that we wanted to release the game without talent and to step into that.
Katsu and Phi were both part of the formative. Two ninjas part of the formative. Interesting.
Partly for simplicity's sake, and partly so that we had like this big wow moment up our sleeve to release in that.
I wonder what Katsu's talent was.
Makes a lot of sense. That was my hypothesis as to where that may have genesis from.
So I mean, it's like somewhat true. And
that's interesting. I wonder what Katsu's original
developed. It was
theoretical
kind of like
talent was.
I guess a big pot of heroes and mechanics and things that were developed in unison, and then we chopped them up how they would roll out over time. Maybe just on that last part of Max Verocity's question, when will we learn more about the Monarch storyline? I think,
is this the spoiler?
It kind of can get chopped into two parts. There's like the story, which we have our narrative team working on now, which you may hear more about the Monarch storyline from a pure storytelling point of view in the near term, potentially. From a product point of view, there won't be anything further on that until 2026.
Okay. Putting to bed those rumors right now. I've heard a lot
Bruno,
of
he didn't, but that is a phenomenal question.
Continuation of the Monarch theme, but we're done with that, not next set?
Yeah, actually,
but you will find out all about the
crew,
next
heroes in general. Like Benji, we know Zen was originally supposed to be Benji, so like clearly Benji has a story too. Great point,
Bruno. 1-2 Juice crew, love those folks. Elliot says, "I'm a big old lore nerd, and part of falling in love with lore, with characters, are the personal stories and stakes that the team has shown so far. Are there expansive plans for both intimate and world-building narratives?
Elliot is a giant teddy bear.
Biased as a book nerd for novels."
Hoping get to see him
really
again.
Fortunate to welcome
Portland, maybe
McRae into the team full time. He was working with us on a sort of a contract ad hoc basis for about a year, I think, writing some of the stories that are published on the website. But he joined us full time a couple of months ago now, and is taking the narrative lead, and has been working with a stable of other writers around the world to help us ramp up our storytelling. So you will absolutely see, I mean, you're already seeing more stories coming through on the website, but I know the team, and I get asked all the time, when are we going to get the next published book? And like we all want to make the next published book, but we have actually built out our
why do we need a published book?
Full-time
we have the internet
team, and that next book, it is being worked on right now, and
small stories keep us aligned with a little bit of Sam Yang art. Seems like a great answer. Why do we need it? Why do we need a book?
To see in Volume 2.
Very, very exciting news.
I'll take a book, but
soon.
Yeah,
Ish.
Always ish.
I think they can accomplish it without having to sink resources
the
into
past
it. Like,
year or so has been a period of massive up ramp for LSS. Definitely every part of the business is growing, but it feels like creative is the one that's really growing the fastest at this moment in time, and I'm excited to see the fruits of that expansion.
Absolutely.
All right, let's head to our next question here. This one is coming from Tron Cena. Tron Cena says, will we see Jarl Vetreidi as a guardian hero? Very simple question, James. Will we see Jarl?
Is this a Star Wars question? What are we talking about here?
You've heard the fans. Get to work.
What? They're done?
Oh, my goodness.
Carnage consumed the third
What the hell is this?
as the Old Ones fed upon Rathe. The Olin defended our destiny, our very existence. Yet one of their own they feared as deeply as their foe. To kill is human, to slaughter is desire. And Jarl Vetreidi was filled with the lust for war.
Whoa! Earth Ice Hero? Whoa! Ho! There's a lot of people who just got super hard right now.
On deck, ready to go. So excited to bring you that hero. As you saw in the hero card reveal there, Essence of Earth and Ice. Come on in, boys. It's all good. We're getting ready to wrap up the show. We just showed off Jarl for the first time.
What happened to
I know
James?
You guys have been instrumental in getting this hero together, getting it ready for prime time. How excited are you for the release?
Oh, it's
of
Oldhim
Jarl?
version 2.0, and we have.
Wow. I know this is right up your alley.
Extremely excited.
Ice is back.
I loved playing Jarl.
That was a mic drop, right?
Still playing him. I think it's just such a cool hero. I think there's going to
And
be
then just James
so
is just
many,
gone.
Previously, like
Like,
Oldhim player
what?
and fans excited to experiment and start testing him out. He operates in his
Zoom
own
out.
way.
Zoom out.
I think one of the coolest things
hell?
about him is his card pool is just so big, right? So there's so many different ways to build him, to play him, to sort of I think
November
it can really
29th.
reward
That
people
is
who
not that far away.
have correctly identified.
Oh my
what
god,
the
that thing's
meta
gonna
will be in
sell
any
out
given tournament.
like
So
immediately.
I can't wait to see what some of our like storied former like Oldhim players.
Do you know how many people are
Michael Fung,
over
I'm
at TCG
excited
Player
to
right
see
now
what you got
buying
to
out
do, Jarl.
Guardian cards? Oh my god.
Rosetta just released the Earth pool in particular.
We can't hear you, dude.
Expanded so hard, and you can tap into, the Guardian Mastery pack is coming out. Set is coming out as well. So there's a
Seriously,
lot of cool
cats on the
things.
keyboard at TCG Player. Bye Mangle. Bye, whatever.
Big Sam, how about you, Aurora guy? You sweating a little bit?
His weapon is like my favorite weapon in all of Fab. Did they see that?
Nope.
Oh, well. I guess I won't say anymore.
All good.
It's my favorite
All
weapon.
good. There's going to be a lot revealed about that armory deck as we head through the next few weeks. Of course, the
Whew.
big dump of information.
Well, it's
will
not
be
Terra.
next. It's coming from Osaka, World Championship. Of course, there's so much on offer throughout this weekend. Of course, seeing who's going to go ahead and replace Alex Ajuryu as our reigning world champion is at the forefront of everyone's mind. But there's also going to be that keynote, and so much information is coming out of that keynote speech. We're going to know about the next set. We're going to learn more about Jarl. We're going to learn so many other amazing things about the evolution of the game.
Armory
Not only
deck
are you going to want to not miss that
origins.
keynote, you're not going to want to miss anything from Osaka all weekend. And if you can make it there, you got to go. This is going to be an event like no other in the history of Fab. And it's been a tremendous 5 years thus far.
Some of us have jobs,
I'm telling you,
Brian.
we're only getting started. There's so much more to do, so much more to see, so many more games to be played, so many more heroes to create. We're going to do all that good stuff. Any closing thoughts from y'all on 5 years down? Anything you want to see in the next 5 years that you can't wait for? But don't reveal any spoilers. That's it. We're done with spoilers.
Don't do spoilers.
I feel I'm just going to say no comment on upcoming stuff because I'm too scared about giving any spoilers. But I'm just really excited to see Fab keep growing, expanding around the world. Like I always think back to like the very first set of national championships, there were maybe like 2 or 3, and then the next year there were like 25, and then I think
We've been here for
40, I
4
think,
hours,
maybe, like,
right?
50
I mean,
plus
we
next year.
not we because I had
It's
to
just so cool
take a
seeing the game
break, but
expanding. Like I was looking at, someone pointed out on the ELO leaderboard
these
the other
folks are
day.
trucking along,
I
man.
think in the top, in the top 15, there's like 9 or 10 different countries.
Yep.
Really speaks to it as a global game. So I just can't wait to see.
I like how James
what the
just like
future brings
pieced
to Fab,
out.
all these like
He's
really
like,
nice
"All right,
events, all the
I've
cool
done my
locations
part."
we get to go to. And man, I am super hyped for watching Worlds. I'm just gonna clear my whole weekend schedule. Do not interrupt me. Wall to wall.
He was ushered out by security.
Now, I do know, Kieran, that you just barely dodged your partner's birthday. I leave for Japan on my birthday.
Yep.
So you got away with it. I think you're going to get the entire weekend unabated. You're gonna
Like,
get to
James
go
like
and watch
rode
Worlds.
in on a limo
So
or
I
whatever
think
the
it's,
equivalent is in
that
Auckland,
weekend
and
will
then
be
like
like a birthday
he's like,
weekend, and next
questions,
weekend it's
Jarl.
all
Classic
Fab all the
weekend.
time.
Worlds.
How about you, Jason? Anything come to mind?
Phenomenal.
I just remembered that it is my birthday on that weekend.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
So I'll spend it watching Fab, I guess.
How better to celebrate your birthday?
No, but I'm actually really excited for the game to grow as well, but more from the armory scene. I really like seeing the communities grow and like be very welcoming to new players.
Came
and I
in
think
on
I'm
his
seeing
boat
that a
and
lot
left
more
with the
recently,
tide. Look
so
at you,
I'm very
Andrew.
excited for the next 5 years.
So poetic.
Go. Anything come to mind?
I feel like if you've enjoyed that Jarl reveal
the reveals that will be happening on that weekend are going to be insane. We're going to get a taste of what's to come next year, so that's going to be super hype. I hope Bartosz does it and takes the trophy, brings the world championship back to Europe.
Somebody has to redeem Poland after today.
Exactly.
Maybe it's his time, man. 2 second places at Pro Tours.
Yeah.
Maybe he's like. saving the luck
Andrew, they absolutely give the fans what they want.
I
Prism,
wouldn't be
they're going to
crying
continue
if
to sell
that makes
Illusionist
the
stuff.
Ryder
They're
Cup
like,
as well. I feel
we
like,
print an
I'm
Illusionist
really
and
excited
people
to see
buy a whole bunch of
Japanese
stuff.
players in action.
When's the next Illusionist
showing what they got on the
Count
home
it.
turf. So yeah, that's kind of what.
Yeah, that'll be really cool.
Illusionist
Sort of
or
tasted it in a way
Armory
at
Deck
Pro Tour
Origins
Amsterdam, right, with Sherman
Illusionist.
coming in, taking out the whole
Light
tournament.
hero.
I mean, even in World Premiere, like
Draconic
half of the
light,
top
light
end
draconic.
Japanese players as well.
And just such like a history there of incredibly good card players. Like as you mentioned, on home turf,
Light,
getting, like,
Mystic,
a
Draconic.
huge group of players coming in and seeing. Like I've been really
Illusionist
admiring some of
hero.
their innovative takes on like Florian, a hero very close
Ninja
to my
hero.
heart. Seeing some of
Ninja
the
Illusionist.
lists
There you
compared
go.
to
Multi-class.
what's coming out elsewhere. Like very different, very cool. I can't wait.
Just a couple weeks out now. You're not going to want to miss a second of that. Make sure you're here on the FabTCG YouTube page. I'll be there covering it along with some of my closest friends. It's going to be an event to remember, just like these past 5 years have been years to remember. Thank you all so much, both for joining us today and supporting us on this journey. We literally could not do this without you.
Illusionist
Every single one
waifu.
of you
Oh,
who
actually,
attends
I like
Armory,
that. Armory
who
Deck
makes a
waifu
YouTube video,
edition.
who posts a tweet,
like
who
that.
does a cosplay,
Its
who
origin
just shows
story.
up and is there to be an opponent against somebody who teaches
Armory
somebody
Deck
new to
waifu
play Flesh and
edition.
Blood. You are what is making
I might have to,
all of this happen. You have made these
make
first
that
5 years
image
so
and have
successful.
that be like the next
and
April
I cannot
Fool's.
wait
Actually,
to share the next 5
I
years.
kind of like
with
that
you.
idea,
See you
especially with
soon.
the anime art. All right. That's right. Yeah, your Vis is good. All right, I'm going to go ahead and mute this because, we'll keep watching it, but y'all don't need that noise. So it's all you asked for is a Visceride that can melt faces again. Yeah, fair enough. All right, well, thank you so much, actually, to all of you who actually came back. I'm shocked anybody came back at all. Oh, they're doing it again. Oh, we got to watch this again because this is, sorry, there we go. This was phenomenal. But we'll keep, oh, what a tease. What a tease. All right, that's fine. We will sunset this because who cares anymore at this point, but thanks all for hanging out. I didn't notice you came back until a minute ago. Well, yeah, I mean, A, that's fair. B, I'm not really offended, but I'm going to pretend to be because that's good content, right? Conflict and all that, comments, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I got done doing work and I wanted to come back and do the JW stuff and just watch. And if I'm going to sit here and watch, I may as well watch with y'all. Or just Andrew, as the case may be. Andrew. At some point, someone's going to be like, well, Andrew's just commenting. No, Andrew Osman lives on the East Coast. I live on the West Coast. We're both engineers, though, so we're kind of the same person. But either way, thank you so much, folks. All 12 of you that are still here for whatever the hell reason. Don't you have better things to do on a Sunday? That's all I got to say. Anyway, folks, thank you so much for hanging out. By the way, this week, we do have a special video planned for our 1-year anniversary, which is really cool. Looking forward to it. So, and anyway, thanks, folks. Go Commando.